Hello, everyone. My name is Viviana Premazzi. I was Intercultural Communication Specialist for Voyage 134. Together with me, there is Emma De Caro, ASL interpreter, also on our Voyage 134. And then today we have one of our most important, I would say, faculty member. It was a great contribution to all the Voyage. Is really made us happy, joyful, dancing, singing, playing music, is our music professor, Mark Brill. Welcome, Mark, and thank you for being one of our guests.
Thank you, Viviana. It's great to be here.
Good. So let me start with an easy question that actually, so who are you and what did you do while at SAS? We know that Voyage 134 was not your first voyage. So if you can tell us about you and your experience with SAS, what did you do?
Certainly. Yes, I was on the voyage in spring of 16, and then just now in the fall of 24. And I was a music professor in both cases. I taught more or less the same class, popular music and world music in both cases, and then try to coordinate the music on the ship with the students and the faculty and special presentations and things like that. And of course, the classes were organized according to the ports that we were going to visit, right? So if we went to Portugal, we do fado. If we went to, or when we went to Ghana, we do drumming and things like that, right?
Yeah. I have this beautiful memory of us like drumming while at sea before reaching Ghana. That was beautiful. So if you have to explain to other, let's say professors, especially faculty, what is SAS? How would you describe SAS?
SAS is, of course, a very intense but rewarding experience. Rewarding, of course, because you get to travel everywhere, but also as a professor, pedagogically, you get to teach things in ways that you could never do it before, to students who are interested in ways that students on your home campus never are or rarely are. It's actually quite a wonderful experience as a teacher, in addition to as a traveler, right? Because as they say, it's not a cruise, it's a voyage. And if you just wanted to travel to the places, you just take a cruise. But this is really a voyage of discovery, so much more intense than just visiting some places, right?
Yeah. And so what was SAS for you?
SAS was an incredible experience. It's the ability to integrate knowledge of the place, and then visiting the place. And it's a closed campus, essentially. And so you get to form a community of people that then disperse to the four winds afterwards. But for 4 months, the faculty, the staff, the students, the crew are all together, and you build this fabulous community that then lingers on in memory. I have my 2016 community in my heart, and now I will have the 2024 community in my heart. That's really what SAS means to me, right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think now that we are doing a few interviews, there are some keywords that are coming up. So community is for sure one of our keywords. And also voyage, like it's not just a cruise, is a voyage, and is a voyage. And we know like inside ourselves with the other community and in the places where we travel. So then we came back, like we disembarked in Bangkok. Some people stayed longer in Southeast Asia, some people traveled to other places, but then we came back. Now is more than 2 months that we are back. What do you miss the most about our voyage 134?
I think what I miss most about the voyage, actually both voyages, is being at sea, is actually being on the water. Uh, because the places are the places and they're fabulous, but nowhere else you get that sense of being on the water for 4 months, right? And you get up at dawn to see the sunrise, and you're surrounded just by water. And then at sunset, the same thing. You're surrounded by water, and everybody's up on deck experiencing the same thing. And then the whole rituals of being on a ship and on the water, and day in, day out, you really do get a sense of what it is to be on a ship, in addition to being at a university as a learning community, right? The whole idea of being on the water. That I think is what I miss the most. That I could never get back. I could visit all these places on an airplane, but I could never get back the idea of being on the ship, being on the water. That's really what I miss the most.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. Like the more I think about the more like this is really one thing I miss the most, because exactly it's not something you can get back easily or you can have again easily. And I remember some days where I was like so busy, like going through from like global studies and my classes, and then other stuff was like, I need really to like pause and look outside or go on the deck and see the sea, because this is also why I'm here, like to be at sea. This is why I enrolled in semester at sea. So thank you for sharing this. So tell us now one of your favorite memories.
Oof,
If you have
so
one
many
or more.
memories. So many memories. Gosh, the time I was swept up on a tuk-tuk in India and traveled all over town. That's one of my favorite memories. The time we went to Cambodia, I went with my daughter to Cambodia. That was fabulous. Taking the students drumming in Ghana, drumming on deck 9 by the pool with the staff and the faculty and the students. That was quite fabulous. Um, there are so many great memories. I think every memory is great. I can't think of my range of memories are from pretty good to awesome, right? There really were no bad memories on the entire voyage. Right?
Yeah. And I think many of us can share, or even the bad memories then have a different taste now thinking
Sure.
about it, because yeah, we miss it. So and then we came back, and how was, you have now like 2 voyages, so you experienced already 2 re-entries, and we are doing this also because like re-entry can actually be even more like shocking or more overwhelming or complicated than going abroad. So how was for you coming back, and what were your main struggles?
Um, I think the easiest way to do a reentry is to have a buffer time in between physically coming back, and then resuming your life as it was. On my first voyage, I had actually the whole summer to
Mhm.
decompress, if you will, before school started back. So we arrived back at port in, when was it, May, and then school didn't start again until August. And so we had the whole summer to decompress. And then once school started, it was fine. This time I still had a small buffer. It was more like 2 weeks. Um, but yeah, I would say you would need a buffer. You don't want to leave the ship on a Saturday and then start school or work again on Monday. I can't imagine how that might work. Because you do need time to consider, to decompress, to do these kinds of interviews, to formulate your ideas and your memories and what did this mean, and all this kind of stuff. You can't do that if you have, a 48-hour turnaround. Um, Having said all that, it's not actually it wasn't all that difficult for me, right? Yes, of course, you miss the ship, you miss the people, you miss the voyages, you miss the schedule. Um, but it's not really, it's a change, but it's not that harsh of a change because the voyage is still part of me. Both
Mhm.
voyages are still a part of me, right? And it's not like I went to a theater and then left the theater. It's more like this is not that was the second act, and now I'm doing the third act, and then there'll be a fourth act and a fifth act. It's more of a continuous arc, if you will. Um, I was at home before the voyage, then I went on the voyage, and now I'm back home after the voyage. I see it as the continuation of the process rather than these discrete time sections that are cut off by walls. No, I don't see it that way. It doesn't work like that for me anyway. It's more like a continuous it's like a voyage, right? The voyage didn't start in September and end in December. The voyage for me started when I was born, right?
Okay.
And hopefully will end at some point later in life. And my whole life has been an arc that
Mhm.
contains a whole bunch of experiences, right?
Yeah. And I think also here we have now, when we're listening, we are doing these interviews now, and we're listening to other keywords from like students or faculty. One is also time, like the time you need to process, the time you need to give time to yourself. Also, don't be too harsh, but also how considering SAS just part of your life voyage. And that can also be difficult on the other side, because you need to find a place for SAS. And so, and maybe at the beginning there can be some struggles to find a place for all the memories, all the experience, and wanted that back with the same intensity. But then it will find its place, like sooner or later. Probably this is what we are hearing from like our interviewers.
I think it might be different for students, a little harder perhaps for students, especially students who have never done anything like this, right?
Yes.
Because it's, your life goes on, and then suddenly it's a completely different thing for 4 months, and then you're back, right? And when you're, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, that can be, well, it can be wonderful, of course, but then, yeah, the reentry might be a little traumatic. I think it would be different when you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s, a different experience. And I always regretted not doing this when I was in college. And yes, it would have been a completely different experience, and my reentry would have been very, very different. But that's, I guess, what comes with having lived long enough to experience life. And so, yeah, my reentry is not particularly traumatic, I would say.
Good. This also give hopes to other faculty or lifelong learners. So they hear that for some people it was more difficult. Like for me, it was more difficult than I expected, despite
Yeah.
all the theory. But it's good to hear also that for some people it was easier, or at least like manageable. So one last question before
Okay.
we say goodbye. You already actually started and you mentioned something, but is there any other strategy or any other thing you think can help? Maybe it help you, but also you can help other faculty, other students to cope with the challenges of life after SAS. You already mentioned like the buffer zone kind of. Anything else?
I would say, so a lot of it is a question of attitude. Um, Part of it is mourning the fact that you're no longer on the ship, and how you miss it, and how great that was, and how horrible your life will be from here on out. Yeah, don't think about it that way. Your life is great, was great as a result of the voyage, and will continue to be great. Um, Chances are, whether you're a student or a faculty, you will do this voyage again. We have tons and tons of people, students and faculty and staff, who return again and again and again, right? And even those that don't do this particular voyage, many of them will travel them throughout their lives, right? They'll do other things, right? So yeah, don't look at it as a door has closed and you will never regain that, right? Um, your life was great. Your life is great. Your life will continue to be great. Look forward to the next challenge, right? And you're not worse off just because you're not on the ship anymore, right? Um, you're off the ship, but someday you'll be on the ship again, or a ship, or an airplane, or something. Your life will continue, and will continue to be great. Very few people get on the ship by accident, right? There's a reason why they're on the ship, right? And if you do go on the ship by accident, and then return to a life by accident that does not include that kind of attitude, then you might mourn, I suppose, or you could change your attitude. But if you had the wherewithal and the curiosity to get on the ship, then you're the kind of person who's going to have a great life anyway, right? So don't mourn the ship. Look forward to the next fabulous experience, which could be next week, or next month, or next year, or next decade. But it will happen, and so look forward to that. That's what I would say.
I think that's beautiful. Like, you almost made me cry, but it's beautiful. I think it's also something we need to hear, because yeah, another word that's linked to reentry for some people is like grief or mourning. but you put it in a very beautiful way. And so I'm sure people can benefit a lot from what you just said. So thank you so much, Mark. I'm sure like also our community, everyone listening will be super happy that they saw you here and for all the words that you share with us. So thank you. And thank you everyone for following our interviews, and see you for the next one. Bye.
Thank you, Yana. Thank you, Emma.